May this be a prayer that takes you into the most sacred place within and opens your heart to the presence of God. Well, we find ourselves in the new year and looking at a tradition that Reverend Sky started when he came to Unity Church of Hawaii. Every year he set a theme for the year. I can remember when I first came more than 4 years ago, it was the year of transformation. And I went around much of my time going, what was he thinking? Well, I wonder what he was thinking last year in January when he termed 2013 the year of letting go. I wish I knew what he had been thinking. I took a look at his lesson from last January, and I thought, since it fell to me to do the wrap-up this year, that might be a good place to start. And he had some really useful lessons, which we'll revisit in a little bit. But let's take a little bit of a tour of this year. He posed the question as we began, are you ready to soar? He tried to prepare us for the spiritual practice of being free of what would hold us in bondage so that we could take flight in our own lives and in this community. And throughout this year, our work together, the staff and many of you, has been about propelling this community forward to be the light and energy of God expressed in the world, not only in this community, but out in the world. Now, you can imagine that the timetable might have slowed down a little as a result of the end of December in 2013, but that work is still there and will be carried forth. He asked us, are we ready? Well, let's take a look at some history as we prepare to be ready. Jack Kornfield is a meditation teacher and prolific author. He says the knowledge of the past stays with us. Great news. Whatever we've gained this year and any time, the gifts, the learning, the knowledge, the practice, the experience, we hold all that's useful and it goes forward with us. To let go is to release the images and emotions, the grudges and the fears, the clinging and disappointments of the past that bind our spirit. We want to lay down the baggage. We want to lay down any weight and just lift up with us all that is valuable and rich, to be free to soar. And in this year, what have we let go? Oh, it's been quite a year all year long. It was another, what were we thinking kind of year. We let go of many people this year. In the spring, in a very unexpected development, just as we were celebrating the ordination of Reverend Mindy Tucker, she became clear within herself that her calling was to lead her own church. Now, Mindy had this knowing and an expectation that she'd be serving here, as did we all. So this was a hard decision to make and a hard leaving. Now, if you're in touch with Mindy and Nikki, you know that we release them, we let them go to soar in new adventures. Their community and Unity of Greater Hartford, Connecticut has embraced them enthusiastically with great love. They are having a few snow adventures. Anybody see the image, the photo of their convertibles under mounds of snow or either of them shoveling? And I love how they're approaching it with such wonder and delight. When we find ourselves unexpectedly in great change, can we find that energy of, wow, this can be an adventure? Because that's a lovely place from which to soar. Throughout the year, there were more changes in people. Joanne and Bev, our wonderful kitchen coordinators, knew it was time for them to give up serving our community in that particular way, and they went on to new adventures. Joanne is now our Director of Social Justice. What a position tailored to her. And Bev is finding new service in our community on the Board of Trustees, moving forward, being ready to lift themselves and all of us with them in a great journey of soaring. In the summer, Suzanne Sims knew it was her time to, at completion with the thrift store. And her new adventure was taking that experience, that knowledge, that outrageous fun, and crafting a musical, Thrift Store, the musical. And she is now in production and will soon be directing the cast, and it will appear at a theater near all of us in March. A lot of change. And then most recently, Denise, who'd stepped into Suzanne's place, knows it's her time at completion, and now Dennis is stepping in here at the new year. Change is always happening. I am seeing in my mind right now Sky St. John sitting in the rocking chair at our conference table, listening to all of us kvetch about some change that might be coming and our discomfort with it and our resistance to it. And there he sits with a Buddha smile, just watching us, listening to us carry on, knowing that we'll settle down into the wisdom that he knows that change is always coming. But we humans have to mess about for a while, sometimes it seems. We have also been invited to let go of our expectations this year in many ways. When I came here 4 years ago, there was a team in place. I fell in love with each and every one of them, and I didn't want anything to change, especially when 2 years ago I came back to join this team and stay, and then now this year it's been lots of shift in that expectation I had that we would all do this dance together for a long time. Invited to let go of my thinking about that and open to what might come instead. And we've also been invited to let go of our story about a whole lot of things. It's so frequently true that the story we tell over and over is all wrapped up in our filter of what's going on, but it may not be grounded in absolute clarity. So do you know that somebody came to me this morning and said they'd heard somebody say that Sky is alive and in hiding somewhere? What? Now I invite you to let go of that story, people. Because I know he is fully at peace, surrounded in love and joy, but believe me, he's not on the planet anymore. Believe me. So we can let go of, if we choose, we can learn to let go of the expectations we had and then the story we tell about it. And to be finding a path of peace that will lead us in an upward or a forward trajectory. Why, just the other day, I had an opportunity to experience being easeful in my letting go. Just 4 days after Sky's transition, the staff knew we needed to begin healing work, and so some of us were able and took the opportunity to go have a healing experience in the ocean on the windward side. Now, when I take an excursion in my car and involves lots of equipment, I usually sort out the stuff I want secured in the car, put it in the trunk, and do that right here in the parking lot, so that when we get out of the car, all we do is simply exit, close the doors, lock, and the car is secure. We had lots of, you've got your beach paraphernalia, and it was night, so we took hot chocolate makings, and we failed to do that organizing here in the parking lot, and so it was like this fire drill exercise, all of us spilling out of the car, grabbing bags and stuff and equipment. Oh, this has to go in the trunk, open the trunk, close it. This has to go in the trunk, open the trunk, close it. I mean, we just, it was a little wild and unruly when we were getting there, but we weren't noticing anything unusual about that. We were just ready to have this lovely experience. So we come back from the beach later, open the trunk, throw all of our stuff in, come back here to the church. I had 3 people with me, so everybody's car was here. And then we get out, and we open the trunk, and everybody pulls out their beach bag, and Lisa and I, full in the knowledge that our purses were secure in the trunk, reached in for, where? Handbags. Somebody had popped my trunk and stolen our handbags while we were parked. Okay, I wonder what God has for me to know in this experience. Lisa and I immediately got to process letting go. Anger and frustration and indignation. And then we came inside and called the police to make our crime report and called all the people with the cards that were in the wallets that had been stolen. And say a whole lot of gratitude because we had our cell phones and, the car keys anyway. And whew. And then you realize after a while that it's just stuff. You can get all the stuff back. The credit cards, it takes a while, and then it's a little bother and kind of inconvenience. And about 3 days later, you realize, oh, my AAA card. And a week later, you go, oh my God, that was the best purse I've ever had. I mean, it carries everything perfectly. My new iPad fit in it, and it wasn't crowded. Everything was roomy. I could look at it. It was the perfect handbag. You ladies know what I'm talking about. You men do too, because it's either the wallet you carry or the briefcase you have. Oh, if I just not lost that handbag. You kvetch a little, and then you remember it's just stuff. Stuff comes and stuff goes. I wonder what God would have me notice in this experience of loss. Oh, hello. Can I come to a place of what I have heretofore described as big tragedy in my life? Can I come to perspective about it and say, the loss of my dear friend? Yes, I'll kvetch. God knows I'm kvetching. And I'll miss him. I'm sorry I won't sit at lunch with him tomorrow. But can I put it in perspective so that I can move forward knowing that I got so many gifts from that experience, treasure those, and kind of begin to, in my head at least, put it in that place of his absence is like inconvenience. Can I do that? Let me report back to you because I am still working on that shift in perspective. But we were immediately handed the opportunity to see some little aspect of life playing out exactly the big thing of life. And the truth is, there is no degree of miracles. What happens in the little stuff in life can happen in the big stuff of life if we can make that shift within our thinking and our feeling and our emotions. That's what this healing activity, resilient resolution, is about, bringing us to a place of full recognition of all the gifts, full recognition of every feeling about it, and finding the path forward to clarity. Dang how it comes up so quick sometimes. It's a funny universe we live in. Now, last January, Sky had 3 pieces of advice in preparation for the year of letting go. And I thought, well, let's revisit them from a perspective at the end of the year and what we may know now or what may be helpful to us at this point in the process. His first piece of advice, the invitation was, don't resist. We know it's futile, right? But we do it anyway, we humans. Lisa and I resisted for at least a half an hour. Staring my feet in his mirror before we just said, okay, it's just stuff. Even the perfect handbag is just stuff. But we come down to the possibility of seeing it differently and making our journey much more easeful when we don't resist. Especially, I invite you, don't resist your feelings. Because aren't we all awash in feelings? Absolutely. And what our inclination is, because it hurts and it's uncomfortable and we don't like being frustrated and we don't like being upset and, God knows I might be angry, but I can't be angry at Sky. Oh my God, I can't do that. Let's put the lid on all of that and not feel. And then you know what happens when we ignore our feelings? Oh, comes back to bite you on the okole. Yeah. So the quickest way through the healing process of these deep emotions is just to fall right into them. Just dive on in, because through is the route to healing. Feeling them fully. Dr. Nikki used to say, feel every emotion to its completion. And I'm here to tell you, that's like diving in the deep end of the pool. And that's a good experience. So you notice there's plenty of Kleenex in the pews in this place, folks. So whether it's stimulated by Allison and Alex's beautiful voice, whatever reason, honey, let her rip. Because moving through is so much more healing than stuffing down. And don't resist the process. Go ahead and allow yourself to be in wherever you are in your cycle of feelings and emotions and experience about anything that's troubling in your life. When we're moving around in the office, we are all working together to support one another. And, we're all moving pretty fast these days. We're trying to stay moving quickly. But you'll walk by somebody's desk and recognize, the shoulders might be heaving. Whatever it is, take a moment. We stop, we hold hands, and we just be present. There aren't always words needed, required, or even very useful. But we try to be present to one another, hear the processing, and keep one another afloat. We don't resist the process. It's part of our moving forward. Yes, there's a huge old to-do list every week, and Sunday morning comes every week, sure as sun rises, and we all need one another to move successfully forward. And I also invite you, this little one doesn't want to, can you help me out, Christina, to get me the last one? Don't resist the possibilities. Ha ha ha. What, you say in the midst of this, there are possibilities? Chaos is the beginning state of every creation ever brought to life. The universe was formed out of chaos. That's the metaphor in the beginning of Genesis. The void and all was chaos, and then God placed order into that system. So when we're in chaos around here, sometimes I sit with the Buddhist smile and go, yeah, this is good and juicy stuff, because something exciting will happen if we stay in the process. So allow the possibilities to percolate in you, in your life circumstances, as we are shaping and urging and encouraging the possibilities here in our community. His second invitation was to visualize the prize. Now, he meant the end goal, because sometimes, those processes, they're kind of messy. And we have to entice ourselves forward. We have to put the carrot out there so that we can see it, to draw ourselves through the kind of difficult spots. And so in our process here in this community, we could visualize the prize itself as some period forward when it isn't so sad to come into church on Sunday morning. We could visualize that there are still all kinds of resources present in this community, every person sitting next to you and all of the team of staff and volunteers who are here holding the space. We have a prize to visualize, and that's all of us together moving forward. Now, It Happens is a biblical reference. I didn't know that didn't remember it until I went back and reviewed. Now, this is the Message translation, and I like sometimes the contemporary language. Philippians, a letter from Paul to that church, he told them, I've got my eye on the goal where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm off and running, and I'm not turning back. Good energy with which to move forward. But if you're not so much for a contemporary biblical translation, I did bring us the more traditional, in case some of you notice or remember this one. This one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the heavenly call of God in Christ Jesus. Now, here in Unity, we know this language has deep metaphysical meaning, that the state of heaven is our state of consciousness when we are in alignment with the presence of God within us. And hell is simply our forgetting our divine nature and our connection always to the presence of God. So the heavenly movement is our own breathing into that presence of God. And that Christ Jesus is simply the master teacher, the one who lived so well as a human that he shone the light for our path. Let me follow that energy as I lift myself into a new path. He also, as we visualize, we also can be visualizing what new we are creating in our community. We did 4 months' work across the summer and culminating in October in a strategic planning activity in this church. We set big goals for our future, and they will be pursued because we are all still here holding the energy for that new creation, for that newest expression of God through us and through our work as a community. And we can visualize our own healing and wholeness as we move through this journey together on this one issue of Sky's transition, or it's the little stuff in our own life. You know, I can joke about the purse, so I'm okay about the purse. We hold an idea of our wholeness so that we can move forward in the journey of healing. And his third invitation was to focus your faith. I remember him last January talking about the experience of either swimming in fresh water on the mainland, where many of us have a tendency to sink rather than float easily, versus coming for the first time to swim in salt water. And it can be so surprising that all you have to do is just kind of lay back in the ocean. Okay. Sky's a good 10 inches taller than me, so you have to really give me benefit of the doubt here. But you just lay back in the ocean and let it lift you and support you and carry you and swim effortlessly. When we use our faith to visualize that support, we find the strength for the forward-moving process and the messy part of the process and the sorrowful part of the process. We have the ability to experience it all and still be standing in our faith, to hold the faith that God's presence is in us and around us in every moment, and to invite our faith to know that we can connect with our own inner wisdom, that God's presence is within us, and if we will find a moment's peace, we can move into the quiet and sense and feel and maybe even hear that still voice speak to us. What's our next step forward? How best do I take care of myself in this moment? What's the next dream that will give me new energy? Invite and listen for that presence. And mostly, we use our faith to know that we stand in every moment of our life in divine order. Sky used to speak about divine order every Sunday, and he described it this way: I am always in the right place, at the right time, right now. Who do you think's having the most ultimate right place, right time, right now experience today? Sky St. John. What I trust is that he answered his soul, had control of this circumstance, and took him where he longed to be, which is in the heart of God. Now, I might not like it very much some days, but I honor the journey of his own soul, its calling, and its knowing that is so much more connected to God than my fussing about where this experience is. To use our faith to know that all is well in the world and all is well in my soul, no matter what. Sometimes I have to work to be in that place of acceptance and agreement with that idea. But if I will rest and float in that faith, then I am supported in my understanding and my movement forward. So, as Sky did, I ask you, here at the cusp of 2014, as a community, are we ready to soar? Yes. Oh, very good. Now, in case there was anybody who's just not quite sure, let me ask it this way. Are you willing to consider that maybe, sometime down the road, there's the possibility that you'll be ready emotionally to let go, and then you could soar? Yes. Whatever stage we're in, it's good, because we have the tools to move forward. Some of us will soar in the next moment, and some of us will cheer them onward and wait for our own divine order. I invite you to breathe in with me into this space where God is within you, to know that you also are in the heart of God, each and every one of us. We hold this light, we hold this space so that we too can do the work that our soul is calling us forward, upward, so that we may soar. So come to this place where you find and shape and expand your own light and your own being. And sit with this presence in the silence.